Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 22nd of May, 2023. Well, let me check there we go, my sound is up enough. Okay, alrighty, well, I hope y'all had a good weekend. We were still getting garden spaces ready. We're not done. We have a bunch on one side and a bunch on the other side of the house, so we'll start on the other side sometime this week, but we're finishing up everything on the front side of the house. And I think we're going to be planting potatoes and corn here in the next day or so, maybe even today. I don't know. So I hope all of you have been busy in your gardens, and it's such a wonderful thing to get out there and reconnect with everything and get the old stuff cleaned out and the new stuff, watch the new stuff grow and adding things to it. And this is the time of year where I think I spend more time in the garden shops of stores than I do inside the store itself. So anyway, to pick up things I didn't think to start on my own, or I don't grow on my own, or what have you. So anyhow, that's what I've been doing the last few days and will continue to do for the next couple of weeks. So as we continue to finish the areas and get everything planted. So anyway, let's take a look at the rune for today to get us started from the Elder Futhark. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you come back, thank you so much. We start out taking two runes. I'll take one from the Elder Futhark bag that will be the above side of things, and then I'll do the Geomancy rune, throw down the four elemental runes, and discover the Geomancy rune. That's how I do that. And that's the below side of things. And so the above would be higher awareness, and the below would be ego. So, but right now we have Dagaz. Dagaz is an interesting rune. Means new day, or just day. But it's literally, and you can see this in the structure of the rune, one period ending and another beginning. It's comprised of Kenaz and Laguz and Gebo. Gebo would mean balance. So if you did, say, an equinox ritual where you're out there at the end of the one phase and the beginning of another, you can draw Dagaz on the ground, either with a stick or just draw it mentally and stand in the center and experience that moment of transition. So that's another word we can use to describe Dagaz as transition. So something could be ending today then, and something new could be beginning. It could simply be, oh, hang on, I threw one of the runes. Well, I didn't throw it as much as I dropped it, but it kind of felt like I threw it out of my hand. Anyway, this could have something to do with perception. It could have something to do with just something happening, like maybe a lot of people are graduating right now from college, and so that one period could be ending, and a new exciting part could be starting, whether it's grad school or I've been seeing a lot of people online on social media where they're talking about getting their medical degree. They still have more to do, of course. They're not done learning, of course, but it's an exciting, point in their life where one period is ending and a new one's beginning. So it could be something like that, or maybe you're thinking about getting a different job or what have you, and maybe you got one and you're about to go to something new like that. So it's that kind of transition. Now what we have here, that's Fortuna Major. I need Fortuna Minor. Where's my Fortuna Minor? The interesting thing about well, I can just turn it over if I can. Oh, there it is. The interesting thing about geomancy is there's 8 concepts to it, and you're looking at 2 sides of each one, and so there's 16 runes. So whereas this is Fortuna Major, what I threw today, which is minor fortune or progressive success, I think of it like I've said this before. It's like contractors that bill progress billings, or shops that bill progress billings, because they have to be able to pay their bills, and the jobs are long term, and so it's not realistic, when you have to buy supplies and pay people and all of that, to not do progress billings. So that's one way to look at Fortuna Minor. Fortuna Major, on the other hand, its complement would be the big windfall. It'd be the greater fortune. So the windfall at the end of it all, the big paycheck. That would, if you're looking at it purely in financial terms, and typically we do. Sometimes we don't, but right now we're looking at some progressive success. So what this is saying is that if there's a period in your life that's ending and a new one is beginning, it's not going to be the only time you experience that. That again, maybe you have a process. It's like when with doctors, again, people, they get their degree, they get their medical degree, and then they have their internship and then their residency. So you have progressive steps along the way before they're finally out on their own as a doctor. And so it's that type of energetic movement, I think, with today's runes that are getting us started out. Let's go ahead then and take some cards to give us the details of all of that. See if I'm right in my suggestion and what this might have to do with. Generally speaking, it is, but once in a while, the cards that I draw are a bit of an outlier. And when that happens, then sometimes we have to look further at the meanings of the runes to maybe something that isn't as predominant about it. It's like the rune Vaya. That's a geomancy rune. That's the path or the way. But it's also about being stuck in perception. So there's almost like a fixation there with it, a fixed energy with it, as opposed to populace, which is its complement, which is more about being a follower and being in the crowd, right? And so you can see the different types of energetic flow between both sides of the same coin there. You're literally at two ends of the spectrum with these runes in the geomancy runes. So anyway, let me go ahead and cut the cards. Let me get this out of the way. I only have so much room here because I crowd myself. Well, we have two cards from the major arcana, which has been happening periodically, where we'll get two. Once in a while, we'll get all three. That doesn't happen all that often. At least we get one. Sometimes, and then sometimes we'll get all court cards, which is really fun because you have to interpret them both ways. The person on the card, or the qualities therein, or maybe it's a mixture of both sometimes. But I think that right now we've got two cards from the major arcana and one from the court, and the suit of swords. So we have the Wheel of Fortune, Temperance, and the King of Swords today. Let's see. The Temperance is the 14th card, so that would be a 5 energy. Wheel of Fortune is a 10, so 1. So that's so a 5 energy plus 1 is a 6 energy, is 6 numerology for the cards today. And so with a 6, you're looking at empathy and compassion and shared path and assistance and guidance. The even numbers have a certain level of harmony to them. And as you get higher in the numbers, 2 is a particular type of harmony. It could be the relationship between two people. 4 is a different type of harmony. That's a little more harmony in terms of your structure in life, making that all balanced and all of that. 6 is, again, shared path and empathy and guidance and all of that. 8 is a little greater harmony, where it's in terms of leadership. You're creating harmony with those you lead. But basically, there's some kind of shared path maybe we can look at here, or guidance that you need. So in terms of Dagaz being the new day and one period ending and a new one beginning, the Fortuna Minor rune, progressive success, that indicates that with the six energy, you're going to be needing some help along the way with that, with your progressive success, and how that manifests, I don't know. The Wheel of Fortune, though, we'll begin with that. We had this, what day did we have the wheel? Oh, it was on Thursday last week. That was with, we had the moon that day too. Seven of Cups, the moon, and the Wheel of Fortune. That was transforming perception. We had Ingus and Vaya also on Thursday. Um, so there would be an example where Vaya would have been stuck in perception as opposed to, well, the path unfolds after you transform your perception. So you can also include both interpretations of Vaya in that. But anyway, and I did. But anyway, here we have again the Wheel of Fortune. So again, the wheel's turning again for you today. And again, when you're talking about Degas and one period ending and a new one beginning, now we've got the wheel that's turning for you. It's the same sort of energy. We have it's a very hermetic card. You've got the glyphs for air, fire, water, and earth, and you've got mercury, sulfur, and salt around the wheel itself. It says tarot on it in between some Hebrew glyphs. It also shows, well, I mean, it's showing, it looks like Aquarius there, and either looks like Mercury, or maybe, yeah, is it Pluto? Or no, it's Mercury. No, I think it's Pluto. So there's some transformation there. You've got the sun. I'm not sure what that one does, because that's not really a glyph there for this astrological. But in any event, you're seeing the idea of in a way, it's fortune, prosperities, it's cycles, and cycles is where you would see the progressive success, the continual ending of one phase and the beginning of another. So there seems to be some continuity with whatever's going on. Again, where you're going to be progressing in different stages, maybe. I think, but again, it's still portending success and movement. There's so much pollen outside; it's just killing me, killing my throat. Excuse me. Now we move to temperance. So with this type of energy, the progressive success energy, the feeling of one door closing and a new one opening, or one period ending and a new one beginning, we want to make sure that we approach the situation in moderation, and then we don't get ahead of ourselves. Again, it's hard when you can see the end in sight, but you've got steps that you need to take to get there, and you need to complete certain steps before you can take the next one. It can be very frustrating because you're excited and you want to get to the end, but you can't get there yet. And here with temperance, we see a path coming up out of the water. It goes between two peaks. Again, anytime you see twos side by side, the same thing or roughly the same thing, you're looking at the idea of balance, returning to balance. But the path, even though the path is winding, it goes up between two big mountain peaks. The sun is rising, and so again, a new day is upon you. You see the glyph for fire on the angel's gown. You see the red wings, also fiery. You see the rays of the sun disk on the headband on the angel. You see the rays emanating from the head. And when we talk about the sun, we talk about the sun as the creator. We talk about the sun as the light that returns. And I mean, it's the same in terms of the sun card, which is, a major arcana card. But the idea that there's new growth. You see the water lilies. My water lilies I don't know if they've started blooming yet. I've got them all around a couple of my ponds, and I also have some up in my irrigation ditch. Just because they're cool, they're lovely. I have other kinds of irises on the property, but there's just something about the water iris that I love. And so they were growing in the ditch, and so we kept bringing them down. And now my husband's got them planted all over. Well, at least on one of the big ponds. I know they're on the other side too, on the second pond, but the main one that we have, both of them are really big, but the main one that holds the water mostly, the other one it's not quite sealed enough yet, but so the main pond that we have has them all around, and it's very cool. Also, one bank has wild roses, and another bank has a bunch of blackberries, and so it's just things have come there that we didn't plant. and have just come to the property basically. And we just move them around, and you know, it is what it is. After 42 years, it's going to be what it's going to be. And it looks like a jungle in here. And so anyway, but what we have here is the 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot in the water. Now, earth would be the physical side of self. It would be everything physical, your whole life, basically, career, home, family, tradition, education, anything having to do with your physical existence. But then the other foot in the water now, that's the water element. And so that's, again, change. It's movement, it's compassion, it's empathy. And so have some compassion for yourself, or some empathy for yourself, maybe, that this is a process, and don't get ahead of yourself, basically. The angel, I'll say she, she's pouring the water from one chalice to another. Basically what she's doing there is moderating will with emotion. Again, both are very powerful elemental influences. All 4 of the elements are, but water has this great capacity for change, and also to understand its dramatic effect it can have, that the emotions can have on people, on the person, and on everyone around them. If you've ever been around somebody who's really emotional, it's like that. If they're passive aggressive at all, they can control the room, basically, through their emotions and their responses and the look on their face, and they can just control everything. And trust me, they don't see it that way. So it's an interesting situation when you look at the card of Temperance, because again, we're talking about something new is returning with the sun, but at the same time, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We don't want to let the emotion, because emotions, if we make our decisions emotionally, without reason, without the air element coming in, then if the will is coming in, then the will's going to go, okay, let's go. And maybe that's not the right way to approach it. And it would suggest with the card of Temperance that it's not. So as the new period in your life is beginning, you want to be careful how you approach it, and take a more measured approach. Maybe that might be one way to look at it, than to simply jump feet first in and go off running. You're off and running. That's not really what this is telling us to do here. And then in the end, you're going to have success if you do it that way with Fortuna Minor. Now, the King of Swords, I don't think we're looking at an older figure here, unless we want to look at it in terms of somebody who's a trusted advisor or mentor. We can look at it that way, I suppose. Here we have the king. Again, swords is the air element, so it's the intellect, it's reason, it's balance, it's justice, it's observation, it's being analytical and logical. So you can look at this as a person that's a person of authority in your life, or someone who's a wise mentor or trusted advisor or what have you. And maybe along the way, in these progressive steps you're going to take to your final goal, maybe you need to take some time and, I don't know, get legal advice or just advice, period, from somebody that you trust, who has an analytical mind, who can look at things in a logical way when you're still trying to balance will with emotion, right? And so you would have somebody then who you could go to for guidance that says, well, I know you want to skip these steps, but you really need to take them. And so it could be a person along the way that you may need to talk to, or it could just be taking these qualities of the king and embodying them yourself, and becoming more analytical and more reason-oriented, and looking at things from that balanced standpoint. Again, there's balance incorporated with Degas as well, with Gebo in the middle. Gebo, in fact, I'll just draw this out for you very quickly so you see what I'm talking about. She's like, what is she talking about? But when you explode out the rune Degas, this is what you have. You have, in the center, you have Gebo, which is the X. Okay, and that's balanced energy exchange. It's the gift, it's reciprocity, it's marriage, it's partnership, but you can see it has to be balanced. Over here on the side, you can see Laguz, forward and reversed, and that's basically flow from higher awareness. It's intuition, it's clairsentience. And then we have, and I'm going to put this in all directions around the X, we have Kenaz, the light of spirit expressed outward in all directions. This is actually this is Kenaz here, and then this would be Kenaz reversed. And this is above and below. But it's the torch, it's the light of spirit, it's that higher awareness expressed outward. And when you do that, what we're really talking about there is being able to see the bigger picture. And maybe you need someone to help you with that along the way that you can go to for advice, or maybe the King of Swords is suggesting that when you're doing this, when you're trying to balance will with emotion and take those steps that you do need to take in order to get to that final goal, then maybe you need to be able to see the bigger picture and analyze that from a reasoned perspective and understand that if I don't take those steps, then I could be, jumping in head first to something without my eyes open, without really understanding what I need to be doing and what the true picture is. So maybe I'm going to make a decision that's hasty and isn't going to get me where I need to go. And so then you got to go back and you lose that element of the progressive success that the Fortuna Minor is talking about. So I really think that what this is saying is that you could be coming to the end of something and beginning something that you've planned for, but you're going to have that same process throughout until you get to the final goal. You're not there yet, in other words. And to just understand that it's all part of the learning process. Everything that is just like I said about a doctor. You go to school, you get your initial degree, but then maybe you're going to go and get an advanced degree, and at some point though, you got to do your internship, you got to do your residency. If you decide to go back for more, you might have to do another residency. I mean, it's a lot of different things that go on just to become a doctor. And so just because you get your degree in medicine initially doesn't mean you're ready to go practice. The same way with electricians, you have different levels of stuff you have to do before you're finally a journeyman. And then when you finally get to that level, maybe you can open your own business. But until then, you need the guidance of somebody else to kind of pay attention to what you're doing, because it's a very complex job. It's a very important job. And with any type of experience like that, there's always the next level education, and you're getting experience along the way. And so all of that is in service to that final goal, to that Fortuna Major. But right now, you're in that process stage, I should say. And it's going to be happening again and again until you finally get to where you need to go. And you're finally ready to be on your own. It's true in mechanics, it's true in all kinds of things that require additional training along the way. Education, same sort of thing. You become a teacher. You have to go back and you have to get more teaching, or rather educational experience along the way. So teachers have to go back and take other classes from time to time just to keep their teaching certificate in good standing. Lots of things like that have to happen. So I think that, again, on the college level, you have to publish. It used to be called publish or perish. If you want that PhD, it's publish or perish. So there's lots of things you have to do along the way to either get there or maintain it. And I think that's the energy of what we're talking about today. So again, I think this is a positive reading. It's not telling you anything negative, unless your emotions get away from you and you want to be there now. I remember when we taught martial arts, we had one student who, sadly, I don't even know that did he even get his first belt, his yellow belt? Maybe. I think he did. And then he went and opened up a school in a town nearby. And one of our black belts had a business over there in that town and saw it and went in. And he's just standing there looking at him like, what are you doing? because he knows nothing, and he calls the system a new name and did all this stuff, right? And I'm sure he was just terrified my husband was going to show up, but he didn't, because he's not going to bother with that guy. But here he was taking money when he had nothing to teach, and he was making it all up as he went along. And so it's like he got ahead of himself. He decided he was more than what he was, and I mean it was pitiful. I mean, literally, white belt, yellow belt. Then you have all these other belts, right? You need to know all of it before you start teaching. And you need to be a black belt before you start teaching. In our school, you could student teach at brown belt, but you had to have somebody there to make sure that you're instructing the student the correct way. Well, I mean, we've experienced that in our personal life. I trained with my husband. He trained with someone else, and it was that same sort of thing. And so, I don't know. You can't get ahead of yourself. You put yourself, your integrity's at risk. Your maybe you can get sued. I mean, depending on what it is you're doing. So, it's like people who go out and become dentists, or they don't become a dentist, but they maybe had a little bit of training, or they read a book or two, and then they go and they open a shop somewhere. It's like they're not really a dentist. I've read articles about that. I don't know what it is with people that want to get ahead of themselves like that and commit fraud, but they do, and they defraud everybody they come in contact with. So I think that this is just a lesson for everybody, really. To not get ahead of ourselves, and to accept that sometimes there's a process involved to getting to where we need to go. And if we learn what we need to learn, and be successful there, we can move on to the next step and on to the next step until we're done. And hopefully you have the mindset that you never stop learning, But in any event, I think this is a positive reading today. I think that it can, in fact, it's kind of exciting. I'm always happy when I can start something new or a different phase of something. It's like, oh, thank God, now I can have that. I remember in college, it would be like that. I'd be looking forward to this class I needed to take for my degree. But I had like another year before I could take it, it'd be like, I really want to take that class, so I get prepared. I'd buy books, I'd be reading things, and I was ready for when the time came, but, I just think that there's a lot of value in a measured approach to things, and to understand that there are steps to get to where you need to go. So anyway, I think we'll stop there. I don't think we need any more cards. But again, either with the King of Swords, either include a trusted advisor or a series of them to get some advice from along the way, or some support, or some, anything like that, or be that person yourself and take those qualities of being able to reason things and see the bigger picture, and not getting stuck in perception, and being able to, truly move throughout the situation in a way that you can be successful. I think that's a valuable skill to have. So either way you want to look at it, I think it's there for you today in today's reading. So thanks for watching. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe. I hope you'll consider doing that, and come back again on Thursday when we meet again for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.